Hello.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
We got garage stuff in the garage. You can get through the house with the stairs right there. Yeah, it goes all the way back, and there is some stuff upstairs.
Okay, thank you.
Round of applause for my customer service voice there. This is going to be an estate sale video with a haul, so please stay tuned to the end so you guys can see what I actually picked up.
It is possible I might come in there and grab you at some point, but she's probably going to be a while. We might have a lady mind furniture. We may want to back in, but we got plenty of time.
Okay.
She got here, and knowing her, she's going to be here.
Okay.
In summary, what the gentleman was saying is that there is a lady shopping inside of the estate sale that has a trailer and a truck, and she is going to need to pull into the driveway in order to be able to get everything loaded up. So I may need to move my Bronco at some point, which I was just saying, okay, that's fine. Honestly, I've never parked in the driveway of an estate sale before. Normally they're packed and it's, parking all along the street. But this was like the last 30 minutes on the last day of this estate sale, which is typically when I like to go to an estate sale, because that's normally when all the best deals are, unless there's like something amazing that I absolutely have to have the first day. Just a bunch of breakable stuff, you guys know I like buying breakable stuff, but most everything here was actually priced at eBay prices and not at reseller prices, which is, fine. They're trying to get the most money they can for the family. There's some grab-it bowls and some Tupperware, basic kitchen stuff that you would see at any thrift store. So I left most of that behind. Some stuff still in boxes. A couple of pieces. Those are like some 1970s chairs there at the table. I saw this and was hoping it was like a McCoy. You guys know how much I love green. So I was trying to see if maybe this was something to pick up. They wanted like $10 for it, so I decided to leave it behind. You can hear some voices, some lady voices. There's the estate sale runner and also the lady that the gentleman was talking about there. The reason why I decided to go to this estate sale actually was because of these books that I'm about ready to approach. I buy and sell a lot of books. If you've been here for a while, you know that for a fact. And I saw these leather bound that I just took the spine off. That's not a good sign. This is, I think, War and Peace by Tulsky. So I go and see if they're all like that. They're not. This is an autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. If you did not know, autobiography means that it is written by the person it is about. So this is Benjamin Franklin writing about Benjamin Franklin. If it's a biography, it is someone writing a book about somebody else. So autobiography is a book about themselves, and a biography is a book about somebody else. This is Madame Bovary. It's another classic. These leather-bound books were actually marked at a different price than the rest of the hardcovers. The hardcovers were $4, and the paperbacks, I think, were $2. I'm going to probably stare at this price point over here to the left, if you see that there. I'm going through and seeing if there are any paperbacks that I'm interested in. I like buying and selling a lot of vintage horror, fantasy, and science fiction, and by vintage, I mean roughly between 1930 to like 1980. That's like the sweet spot for me. This is Our Mass, is a book about weight and I dropped something, and health. I thought it was a science fiction book, but it is not. So most of these that I'm looking at, I'm just leaving them behind. So I was like, oh, well, that's a bummer. These are some pewter pieces down here below me that you see there. I'm turning back around to see if there's anything here on the table that I might be interested in reselling, and then I decide to look longingly out the window at the outside because it is actually a beautiful day outside. Although it is very hot here at the estate sale because they do not have the air conditioning on, and yeah, it's a little warm. This is an interesting little camera bag. I decided to leave that behind. I'm going to go over here and look at these blankets. I did consider buying some of the blankets, but they were between $15 and $20, and I actually have 3 blankets that I haven't listed yet. So, and I have one that is listed that hasn't sold. So I think maybe the blanket thing will probably pick up now that it's fall winter time. This is a neat little table runner, but I couldn't find a brand, and they wanted, again, $15 for it. So I left that behind. There is the lovely lady that runs the estate sale, and she's talking to the other lady that has the trailer.
It's okay.
And what the lady just did, she apologized because she is half dressed. She is actually trying on a lot of the outfits that she has in her pile to see if she can wear them. So she only had half of her clothes on. The fun things you find at estate sales. It's no big deal. It's just us girls, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're talking about actually her clients. She's an interior designer as well as someone who has several antique booths, and she's just talking about the things she buys and sells and her clients and that kind of stuff. It was an interesting litany to have going on in the background as I was looking through the clothes. This gentleman had a sense of style. He was also a smaller gentleman. He was a urologist. These are all batik, which is a specific type of dyeing process that has these beautiful colors and patterns. They all wanted $15 to $20 for these shirts, which also weren't part of the half off. So I decided to leave them behind because they're a little bit too expensive. I mean, if I wanted for it to be long tail and just to sit on Etsy for like a couple years until I got that right buyer, sure, but I am and am not. So I decided to leave those behind. However, these shirts that I'm looking at now are also from the 70s, but they are not part of the more expensive batik pieces. So this is a polo from the 70s, the spear point collar. It's made of 100% polyester. This is like a typical 70s piece. The spear point collar started to become into fashion actually kind of in the 60s, but didn't really like catch on more globally until the 70s, and then started to go out of fashion in the early 80s, so like 81, 82. But this is like a quintessential 70s style. So I actually started putting these on my hand and gathering them up because I thought for $4 at half off at $2 a piece, I couldn't go wrong here. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I like looking out for. I was trying to gather up some of the more interesting dress shirts because dress shirts I noticed don't really sell unless they're interesting from the 70s. But sometimes I also like to pick up the basics like the polo because those go really well for a modern outfit. They can just kind of have a little bit of vintage flair in their modern wardrobe. Kind of like a mix and match vibe. Okay, now we're in the lady of the house's closet. I'm just going to see if that other lady left me anything in here. Most of this is like more modern pieces, and or she did leave a couple of handmade things, but I'm going through just double checking to see if there's anything in here from the gentleman in the house. It's a more modern pair of Levi's. I did double check to make sure it wasn't made in the USA. There's some linens. This bag here that I will show you in the haul. I've decided that that is going to be both the bag that I buy and the bag that I put all of this stuff into. And then I'm going to go over here to the table where there's a bunch of stuff that they pulled out of the drawers that are no longer here because that piece of furniture has long been sold. I told it to stay right there and not to fall over as I go on the pile. This is definitely a tip that I recommend. Like, get down and get dirty when you're at the estate sales, because sometimes you find the best pieces when you are digging.
Some underoos.
That's a pair of underwear. This is a lovely shirt that I actually end up don't showing you in the haul, but I did buy it. So I'm sorry I didn't include this in the haul. This was actually getting stain treatment. But I did buy this. So you're not going to see in the haul. I did buy that though, and it's amazing. And I did get the stain out. And it is going to be listed by the time you see this video. Here are some more button front shirts. Again, spear point collar. That one had stains I wasn't confident of getting out. This one has a very stained inner collar. But that one, I threw it over there, but I do end up picking it back up, I promise. This is an 80s piece. Throw that over there. I'm just going through and seeing if there's anything in here that I can pick up. This one has stains under the arm as well as in the collar. I can do the collar pretty well because it's a thicker fabric, so it actually releases the stains a little bit better, but any of that damage underneath the arms, no. That's normally like in there. I do put it away. I don't buy that one. That's my maybe pile over there. It's like, do I feel like I can do this? So what I've decided to do is start taking everything out the hangers and start hanging everything up because I'm a weirdo. I am a weirdo. I don't know why I do this. I honestly do not. I start hanging up all the items. I start taking the hangers off the stuff that I am going to buy and start hanging up the stuff that I'm not going to buy so that way someone else has an easier time to access it. I'm just going to blame it on my multiple years of retail, working retail. For that reason. But that's what I'm going to basically do for the rest of this video. So I'm going to go ahead and give you to other Bob, and she is going to go and show you the haul. Hello and welcome to the haul portion of this video where I have this beautiful vintage 90s bag full of other vintage goodness, except for this one pair of vintage from the 60s Jansen swim shorts, little tiny things that actually sold as soon as I listed them on offer for $30. And just in case you're curious, I ended up paying $50 for the bag and everything inside, which, to be honest, is not a bad price, especially since something already sold. Again, Jansen is a vintage brand that I personally love with my whole heart. I keep trying to manifest another beautiful vintage Jansen sweater into my life that fits. It is one of those amazing vintage brands. They specialized in swimwear. They still do swimwear. And if you can find some antique, like from the 20s, like the Edwardian era or from the 20s, like wool swimsuits. Yes, swimsuits used to be made out of wool. Those can be worth over $100. So just letting you know that. It's a great brand. I love it. I pick it up whenever I find it, as you guys know. And then let me show you everything else I picked up. So most of the vintage stuff I'm going to show you is actually men's wear. And that is because the lady of the house made most of her stuff. And a lot of those pieces actually went to the lady that you guys heard it maybe in the background of the estate sale portion of this video. She was busy trying stuff on while I was in there, and so I just left her to it. But she is actually had an even bigger bag full of stuff than I did. And then as I was listening to the two ladies talk to each other, both the estate sale runner and the other lady that was buying up stuff, the first day of this estate sale was all the 90s and like 2K stuff, and they said that stuff went lightning fast. And of course, if you're a reseller, you know why. It's because it was a bunch of vintage t-shirts and sweatshirts and like all that kind of stuff. I did snag one of those, but that's because it was stained and I was able to get that out. I'll show that to you in a minute. This is one of the dresses that the lady made. Now, all of the dresses I'm going to show you, they're all handmade by her and they're all from the 60s. And they're I got them hoping that they would fit me. They do not, because this lady was much shorter than I am. And also like proportioned differently, mostly in my problem area, so it didn't work out. Also, I've never seen a dress constructed in this way before. I've seen this style of dress before. This is a blouson style of dress, which means it's like you do this, like this is the blouson part where it's like all fluffy and floppy over. Like if you were to do like a tucked in shirt and then pull it out, that you've made it a blouson style shirt. That's what a blouson dress is. It's just where it's like, I feel like I'm not explaining that very well, but hopefully you get the picture. But the reason why I say I have not seen one constructed like this is because instead of having the tie on the outside to make it easily adjustable, you basically have to like pull the skirt up into your armpits and hold it so you can tighten the dress. Because it's got these little ties in here. This is like an elastic, a light elastic. And you just do this to tighten it around your waist to give you the blouson effect and also to make it not look like a potato sack. But I've never seen that before. And all the dresses are like this. So I have two of these. They're all roughly a size small. Two of these that are this red and green style, and this is a very lightweight cotton, where at the time that these dresses were made, there would have been a couple of layers underneath this dress. Like she would have worn her brassiere and maybe a girdle and of course her panties, and then there would have probably also been a slip over that to kind of smooth everything out and then make it so this wouldn't have been see-through, because this is semi-sheer. And I have 2 of these because, again, they were red and green. I figured I could keep one and sell one, but I'm going to sell them both because unfortunately they did not fit me. But there are those. This is a very heavy canvas material. It's the same style of dress as the one I just showed you. And this is just like a red, it's not gingham and it's not houndstooth. It's like if you gingham and houndstooth had a baby, that is what this pattern is. And it's the same style of dress, except it also has the little tie inside and it's just heavier. So this, you wouldn't have had to have worn a slip because this is not see-through. It's just a heavier weight fabric. And then this is a same style of dress in that it is a blouson and it still has that tie inside, but this one has sleeves. It's also a like blue, green, like beige plaid. And the tragic thing is, despite the fact that she has these really fantastic seams here on the side, she did not put pockets in any of these dresses. But if you are someone who is handy sewing, you would easily be able to add pockets to them, but I'm not going to do that labor because that's a project I really don't want to do on clothes I'm going to sell. I'd much rather do it on clothes that I own. So we'll see. I mean, if they don't sell within a reasonable amount of time, maybe it'll be a future Bob problem. Who knows? Everything else is menswear, but some of them can be unisex, so I've kind of just sold them as women's. If you can see the sizing, you'd understand. So the first piece I have to share with you is John Blair. I actually have 2 John Blair polos. I have this blue one. It's from the 70s. It has the spear point collar. So you have a regular point collar. Oh, do I have one in here? Okay. Yeah, so you would have a regular point collar, okay? This is, if you're doing like the item specifics on eBay, this is a point collar. And then this is a spear point collar. And you can tell the difference, if I put the 2 of them together, how much longer the spear point collar is. So that's a spear point collar. That's very indicative of the mid to late 70s and the like first, like 1980, 1981, 1982, which is when it was going out of fashion. But the spear point collar is very indicative of the 70s. It's kind of like the pinnacle 70s. So I have this blue one and then I have a red one, which is later on in the bag. But these are John Blair, and this is a size small, but it's a vintage size small. So this was a very tiny man in his younger days. This is really cool. All of his really interesting button front shirts are 14.5, which again would be a size small. This is a beautiful spear point collar pocket. I could totally have seen my dad wearing something like this in the 70s. But again, it's for a smaller man, 14.5-inch neck, very small neck, and this is a like 22-inch sleeve. If you're going for that androgynous 70s look, a woman like who wears an extra small or small could also totally rock this as well. Also, these are a little bit longer than some of the pieces I've seen from the 70s, and that's because they would have had high-waisted pants. The pants went up higher, like to a person's natural hip, which is what we call high-waisted. So if you look at 70s pieces, that's a really good indication that they are from the 70s, is that the buttons will just stop and there's like 10 to 12 inches still left of shirt. And that's because the pants were high-waisted, and sometimes underwear wasn't worn and you just kind of like tuck your shirt in, which is actually a very historic way to wear this. You don't need to know that. This is a shirt that I have. This is gingham. This is Anderson Little. And it's another button front with a little pocket. Again, this one has like the slightly longer front there, but not as much so. Another 14.5-inch neck, very cute. If this fit my shoulders, I would probably wear this until it's sold. Another spear point shirt, just like the last one. Another brown spear point shirt with the long tail. This actually has the vented tail, which I thought was very funny. So there is that one. This is cool. So this one I actually, because it didn't have like menswear anywhere on the tag, I listed this as a women's shirt because, to be honest, I feel like it's more likely that I'll be able to sell this as a women's small, because it is a small spear point collar velour long sleeve polo. It's in the nice like neutral palette that's supposed to give you a luxurious classic appeal. But I saw this and was like, it was in his closet, but I feel like I could sell this better to a lady. Same thing with this. This doesn't have a brand in it at all, and actually this had some severe yellowing here in the neck. Doesn't anymore. Again, pretty great about getting stains out. Except for this velour piece has like 2 slight discolorations on the back of the elbow that I could not get out. I got them to be lighter, could not get them all the way out. With this, I was able to get the yellowing out. This is 100% polyester, another spear point shirt. This is red with some kind of geometric pattern. Totally could easily be worn by a lady, which is what I listed it as because, again, didn't have a brand in there. Here's the one sweatshirt I found. It's 80s, 90s. This is the Russell Athletic tag. This is size medium, which is why I kind of figured it was more like a 90s piece because that's about the size he was in the 90s. Which is also kind of one of the reasons why I love estate sales, is that especially if it's a house that they've been in for a really long time, you can normally see through people's clothes like their history, like how their bodies had changed over time and how their sense of style either stayed the same but just like updated for that decade or like changed over time. And it's just really neat to walk through someone's like history and through someone's life like that. I mean, some people might find that creepy, but it's like a one more appreciation of someone's life because most estate sales are after the individuals of the house have passed. So that's what I try to look at it as. But this is Fork Union Military Academy. Again, this had some severe staining actually in the front and on one of the elbows, but it's all gone now. So this I have listed, there's actually a couple of these listed in different sizes, roughly around the $30 mark. So that's great. Here's that red John Blair polo I talked about, bright red, again with that big spear point. Women could totally wear that, but I did list it as men because it says John Blair menswear. And whenever I list on eBay and it's a men's item, but it's something that could be worn by any gender or no gender, I just put androgyny as the look because honestly, yes. Here's another striped spear point collar dress shirt, again 14.5 neck, so a size small. And I do put measurements in all of my listings because I'm someone that needs measurements, so I provide them because if it's something that I would look for, it's something that I'm going to provide. And then this is a Puritan, that's the name of the brand. Another polyester polo, but this one has a little bit of white detailing. Still a spear point collar. I was going for stuff that was stereotypical 70s because that's still in and it's easily recognizable by the spear point collar. Or 90s, which the Fort Union piece was, and then this is also 90s. But this is also listed, so that is the bag of stuff I got from that estate sale. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed an estate sale trip with me. It's nice that I can share that kind of footage with you guys now since I have the new camera. The new Instago camera is kind of awesome. It does have its drawbacks, but because it's so small and unobtrusive, I am a lot more comfortable filming with it. I will put it in my Amazon store down below if you're interested in looking at it. It's a nice alternative to the standard GoPro. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye! Bye.